Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking time to be here with us today. My name is Kim. I'm the Children and Young Adult Consultant with the Connecticut State Library, and I am just here to be your summer reading host for 2021. We're not even going to think about 2022 yet. I am joined today by Maria Bernier, our data coordinator, because today we are going to be going over the reporting aspect of summer reading because that has changed. We are also here with Ashley Sklar, our adult services and community engagement consultant. There are summer reading programs for adults, so that's why she's here. And we're also going to talk a little bit about what we can do with these results. New that they are going forward, so you can tell your own story of your library and your summer programming to your stakeholders and folks in your community. So to get started, we're gonna jump right in. So for those of you who do not know, there is now a separate summer reading page for our LibGuides website. Once upon a time, summer reading was kind of smushed into the children and young adult portion, but it is worthy and lengthy enough to have its own space in the LibGuides ethos. So here we are. So this is it. This is what it looks like. We are here under the reportings tab, but quickly, if you were not able to join us for our summer reading Q&A and our previous summer reading report workshop, the links to those are right here. So after this, feel free to go through and watch those. But we do have a bit of updated information, which is why we chose to do this again. Also, just as a reminder to keep it fresh, because I believe that was in May, before we'd kind of fallen into this hole. So the first thing that I want to draw your attention to under the reports tab here are these three files. If you look at nothing else on this page, it needs to be these three files. I'm going to draw your attention, I already have these things open, to the summer, oh man, this little like, y'all know this thing that here we go. Okay, you know, like the bar is just always perpetually in the way. So we have some instructions laid out for you on the new sort of reporting system that we are doing this year. You can go through and read this on your own. I'm not gonna go through every bit of this, but I did wanna draw your attention to a few important things. The first is that we highly encourage folks to use Maria's program and activity form. She has been working really hard on that, has done many a trial run, and if you choose to use this form, it is really going to make not only your annual reporting easier at the end of the now you guys are about to start doing that at the now, but she's also built in tracking summer reading data into that form so that you can just click and drag numbers over. We're going to dive a little bit into that, but Maria has multiple videos walking folks through how to use this, how to use it if you're kind of a spreadsheet novice, how to use it if you're a little bit more advanced. We're not going to go too deep into that. I really want to be cognizant of trying to get all of this done in an hour. Another thing that I want to remind you of is the deadline for this. It's October 1st. What that deadline is actually going to be going forward is the first Friday of October. This year it happens to be October 1st. Last year it was October 4th. We're choosing October because the majority of summer reading programs go till some point in August. There are some that go until early September, and I have heard of some that go through until school starts, whenever that is. So we really want to give you a good chunk of time to finish your program and then move all of your data over. But if you use some of the tools that we have built for you all, it really should be easy. Like, it really shouldn't take more than 2 or 3 days, if that, once you've completed your program, to populate the spreadsheet and get that sent in. Another thing that I would like to draw your attention to is this section in bold. I have had this question a couple of times already. Please work with your colleagues to submit one summer survey at the end of the year. And what that means is your children's program, your teen program, your adult program, if you work at a multi-branch system, the data and information from those branches all go into one spreadsheet, and I will get one email from said library at the end of the summer. Who sends that email is completely up to you. Maybe it's the director, maybe it's the children's programmer, whatever. It doesn't matter who sends it, but we just want one. And we will go through the form, the spreadsheet that you're submitting, so that you can see how we've already worked to like split all of that out. For anyone who hasn't heard this spiel before, we are mandated to collect this information via IMLS. We are able to purchase things like Read Squared, like CSLP memberships, these manuals with LSTA funds. IMLS, understandably, then wants to know what we did with their funds. So that is why we are collecting this information. We're not doing it just because we're obsessed with data, even though I kind of am a little, not quite maybe up to some people's standards, but I'm really invested in data because then it helps to drive what you do going forward. But we're not collecting this just to make life complicated. We're doing it because we are mandated to. And that also explains why we only give access to the following year's summer manual to people who submit the data. We use LSTA funds to purchase these manuals. Therefore, we can only give the manuals to people who gave us information to report to IMLS. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, please ask for clarity in the chat. Because of all that's happening on my very tiny screen here, I don't have that open. So if you don't feel comfortable sending it to everybody, you can go ahead and send a private message to Ashley or Maria. They can read that out for me without saying your name. But we really, really, really want to make sure that everybody understands that. And if someone sends me their information on October 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th, I'm not going to be able to do anything the following year if that same library is looking for the manual. So let's get into a few other things here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to hit the second thing on this sheet. Sorry, I'm like moving squares, which is the patron survey. This year, we are using a patron survey to replace some of the information that you were used to reporting to us. We are no longer collecting minutes, pages, books, hours, Monopoly squares. We're not collecting that information anymore. I've done quite a bit of talking about the why behind that in the summer reading Q&A video and in a video that I did last November, I think at this point, at the children's annual meeting. I will allow you to kind of go in there and take a look at why we're doing that. But basically, I'm not even getting into watch those things. After you've watched them, if you still have more questions or would like more clarity, feel free to reach out to me. But we are replacing pages, books, days, minutes, words, all that jazz with a patron survey. The state library is moving towards collecting the impact of summer reading through outcome data as opposed to output data. So here is the survey. We're asking things like, did the person feel welcome at the library? Did they learn something from their time at the library? Did they get help from someone who works at the library? That way, we know what the impact of the summer reading program was in someone's time in the library over the summer, what the library essentially has done for those patrons, as opposed to kind of what those patrons have done for themselves when they're tracking how many books they read, because like they did that on their own. This gives us a better idea of what a library has done for their community. With regards to this form, we ask that the questions stay the same. We provided an NA option. If your library is not open to patrons right now, and you don't want I Felt Welcomed at the library because no one's coming to it, there is an NA option. There is a not applicable option for your patrons to circle or check or select however you ultimately wind up collecting this data. Or if you are using the paper form, you can change the settings and kind of do the line through. But we just ask that nothing is replaced that's already here. However, we encourage you to add to this. If there's something extra that you want to know, feel free to add to it. It's not information that we're going to collect, but it may be valuable information to your boards, to your mayor, to your school boards, and so forth. We'll touch base on of additional ways that you can maybe send this information out to get responses. And then there's also a couple open-ended sections here as well. Again, we don't collect this. Our spreadsheet just isn't kind of like built to collect all of these individual answers. But this has the potential to be incredibly valuable information to you, your staff members, and your stakeholders. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about this. No, I mean, so there's some information up here at the top that you can read through. Again, I touched base like real hard on this in the Q&A and in the past, the other workshop that we did. But we are really looking forward to kind of seeing what this looks like. This is the first time that we've done it. If you only get 5 responses to this survey over the summer, that is okay. Send those 5 responses. If you get 500, share whatever you're doing with the rest of the libraries because we all want to know. So that's my email. The other thing that we want to open is, there's nothing exciting in there. Here is what the actual summer reading report looks like. If you have filled out an annual report for Maria, this is gonna look shockingly familiar because I modeled it completely off of what she has. We're trying to become more consistent at the state library. We're trying to use some of the same terminology. We're trying to use the same reporting structures. For those of you who've been doing this for a while, once upon a time, we collected this information through SurveyMonkey. But we want things to be consistent to make them easier to use going forward because we're used to seeing it across the board. So the information, let's get this out of the way. If you try to type somewhere that you are not supposed to type, you're going to get this message. The sheet is not meant for you to unprotect. These are the only questions that we want answered. We don't necessarily need any caveats or explanations. It doesn't export well into the spreadsheet, and it's not broken. So if you get a message like this, it just means you're trying to type somewhere that we didn't intend for you to type. If you go on over to the boxes that are here, you'll see that you do have the ability to type. This stuff is all basic. Excuse me, we have added a drop down for library name because we get different versions of things. Is it CH Booth or is it Serenius, whatever the H stands for, Booth. This is just to kind of streamline things going forward. And then you'll see we've broken down the sort of like numerical information that we want from you by age group. We've had some folks reach out very interested in why we've broken down the ages this way: 0 to 5, 6 to 11, 12 to 18, and 19 plus. The simple answer to that is because IMLS told us to. This is the way Maria collects her data with regards to programs and ages. So this is the way I'm asking for data as well. Again, we want to keep things as consistent as we can across the board. It's going to paint a much clearer picture at the end of a fiscal year or calendar year or what have you. Then the same, we always ask these, did you use Read Squared? Did you use the CSLP manual? Did you use something else? But a new one you'll see is, did you use a summer governor's reading list? It's actually supposed to be governor's summer reading list, oh boy. Because it's something that exists for the Department of Education and for school systems, but it's something that we at DLD make, and we know a lot of you kind of are asked about, so we're just kind of collecting some data on that as well, because who knows, depending on the answers, it might be time to do something a little different. Then down here, you will see where we would like the patron survey data entered. Again, it's broken down by those age groups that I'm sure you'll become very familiar with going forward now that we kind of have them locked in. And what we want in these squares are numbers. How many of the survey responses of children's ages 0 to 5, which is really probably their parents, but you know, just work with us. Unless it's a really precocious 4 or 5-year-old. How many strongly agree that they felt welcomed at the library? How many agree that they felt welcome at the library? How many disagreed, and so on and so forth. Now, we are not done talking about this section. We have worked, particularly Maria and I take my hat off to her, all of the hats that I own, because she's really worked closely with me to help make this process as simple as possible. Man, that chat's going. I don't know what it's saying. I just know people are in there talking. Carry on. To make this as simple as possible. So while looking at this, it's possible that your brains are going, how in the world am I going to keep up with this? How much time am I going to have to spend going through those pieces of paper? Don't worry. And then, as per usual, at the bottom, we really would enjoy hearing any success stories that you have from the summer, be it someone who started the summer kind of begrudgingly coming in, and then next thing you know, they asked to be a teen volunteer, or anything that can kind of give us a snapshot of what your summer program was like over the summer. And then my contact information in case anyone doesn't have it, and then any additional comments on your behalf. Something worked really well for you and you appreciated it. There was something that was missing and you wish that, you know, maybe it's something that we can address for the following year. This is where we want to hear from you about how we've presented this email to you. And up here is where, you know, you can share something that happened in your library to paint us a picture of what your library summer program was like. So here we go. This is what we've got here. So like I said, if you do nothing else, do this. But you'll notice that we've got a couple of other tabs here. So the first is supplemental materials. So I want to touch base on kind of that patron survey counter aspect of this. That's the newest. That's what we don't have anything in our sort of like tool belt to kind of work through, because we've never done that before. So what we have created is a separate spreadsheet that we're calling our patron survey counter. So the way this exists is, the way this can exist, shall I say, is as you collect patron surveys, be it they hand them to you, or they put them in a box by the elevator, or whatever. As you collect those, you enter in all of the information as is. So I've gone ahead and pre-populated one of these to give you an idea of what it looks like. So you get one survey from someone between the ages of 12 and 18. They agreed that they felt welcomed at the library. They didn't, you know, necessarily do any activities. Maybe they just read. They didn't really learn anything because they didn't come in. They read their own books, or maybe they bought them off of Amazon and entered the information through Read Squared. But they got help from the library this summer because the library has, you know, online reference help, and they were able to get some help with their summer homework. You know, they're not really sure, if they plan to take part in library activities after the summer, because they didn't take part in any activities this year. They didn't do it. They were at home babysitting their siblings. Yes, this is their first time participating in summer reading, and so on and so forth. And you'll see that these are all drop down. You can only select what is available here. You'll notice at the bottom, there's a separate tab that does all of the populating of this information for you. Again, broken down by age. So this exists, perhaps you have summer volunteers and their whole job is to enter the surveys as they come into you. And then at the end of the summer, you copy and paste these numbers, post them into the survey that you send to me, and you don't have an exponential amount of work to do at the end of the summer because you've been doing it as you've gone on. Once those surveys are entered, shred them, toss them, bundle them up, and stick them in a drawer, whatever you want to do. So this is a tool that we have created in response to another new tool that we have created. We want this information to be as simple as possible. We want to set you up for success, and we hope that this is something that can set you up for success. I'm so used to clicking on my email icon. So that is the summer reading patron survey counter that you see right here. So then you'll also see, and this is personally what I suggest, but live your best life. I know libraries have different sizes, have different staffing capabilities. So use whatever's going to work best for you. But we've got the summer report mega sheet, which looks shockingly similar to the sheet that exists for you to turn into me. Kind of looking at it, there's just, what's the difference, right? Until you get to the bottom, and you'll notice that this patron survey portion is already populated. And that's because what we've done is we've taken the summer reading report, we've taken the patron survey counter, and we have smushed them together. So another option, possibly one for some of those larger libraries, multi-branch systems, maybe your community is just really, really involved in summer reading and you've already got kind of a lot going on and a lot of folks participating, and maybe you even have people already filling out these patron surveys. What you would do, similar to the patron survey counter, as you get these surveys, just fill them into the sheet, and they will automatically populate. So at the end of the summer, when you are done with your program, all you have to do is fill in your name, your email, your library name. Did you run a program for birth to 5? The very basic things that are pretty easy to pull, particularly if you've been tracking them through Read Squared or something like that. This is just a tool. You do not have to use this. You do not have to use the patron counter. You're welcome to use paper and like note cards, whatever works best for you, for your library capacity, and for your summer reading program. But we wanted to do everything that we could to set you up for success. To draw our attention to some of the changes that were made, and the first form I showed was old, but to draw some attention to some changes that we made after our first meeting. I had a couple people reach out to me and they said this summer in particular, they're just doing family programming. They're not doing teens separate from children, separate from, whoever. They're just doing family programming or team programming, where people are allowed to put together their own sort of pods to run through the program with. So we have added a family programming section. We're doing the best we can to take into consideration all possibilities. This is our first kind of post-COVID summer, on top of rolling out a new initiative like this one. So here's hoping these things are helpful. I'm gonna quickly open the chat to see if anything is coming in that needs my clarity, but I'm seeing Ashley is kind of going in there doing a lot, so I appreciate that. But if anyone has any questions about these sheets, this is a really good time.
So I'll just chime in. I've gotten a couple direct messages. Just to clarify, you would enter each program according to the age group. So for example, you're only going to enter teen programs in that, the number of teen programs in that section. You might then also add, you know, a couple of them were off-site. Same thing with each of the different age groups.
Yes, yes.
Great.
So you'll notice, and this is another change that I made because I had the question when we're asking for the amount of programs that have happened. We're asking for the total amount of programs. I went through and added the word total because someone wasn't sure. And then we're asking, of those total programs, how many of them were held off-site? This actually might be a good time to pivot into Maria's program counting section, because we are following the same rules for collecting data for summer reading as the rules that Maria has explained many a time in her videos with regards to this program counting sheet that she has created. The most important being, you can only list a program one time. If you do a program for ages 8 to 18, whatever that may be, you can only list it in either children or teen. You cannot list it more than once. You have to pick one, and it's going to get counted, right? Like it almost doesn't matter where it goes. It's going to be counted. That's all that matters. If you are counting the amount of people who are at said program, count faces. Count the amount of faces. So if the program is a story time for ages 0 to 5, but an older sibling is there and grandma and grandpa are there and whoever are there, count all the faces, not just the ages 0 to 5. I have linked to, actually I've copied and pasted. I've copied and pasted basically Maria's entire program counting section because it is so helpful. It is so helpful. And so many of these recordings are no more than 18 or so minutes. She has done a really good job. So you see this is a link. Look at that. Has done a really good job of identifying what counts as a program according to IMLS definition, what may be construed as an activity, such as a story walk or a take and make. For her, those things need to be separated out. I have chosen my language very specifically to say that you can smush the two for summer reading. Language is key here, and it's really important that we pay attention to what the words are and what the definition of those words are as we fill out and populate these reports. Was there another question, Ashley? I think I saw.
Yeah, I was just going to chime in a couple of questions. So first, what if we have programs for families but break our summer reading program itself down by ages?
If you have programs for read that again.
If we have programs for families, so I imagine those programs would be specifically recorded in the family programs age category.
Yes.
But break our summer reading program itself down by ages, then you could indicate you have a summer reading program. Yes, we do a children 0 to 5. Yes, we do. Correct.
Yes, so exactly. That would be, yes, we ran a summer reading program for ages 0 to 5. We had 50 kids participate in that. How many total program and activities just for 0 to 5? Maybe that's story. Nope. This is why
maybe that's 0 because all of the programs are going to be counted in the family program section.
Right.
I'm guessing that's how it's going to be. It depends on how you enter that data in your program spreadsheet. So if you enter that program as all ages intergenerational family, then it's going to come up in the family section and you're going to type it into the summer reading report in the family section. But you're going to be able to answer all of the other age group questions in their own sections.
Great. If that is not clear, please chime in. We'll follow up. And then there's one other question. Our library holds programs, I guess this is similar for all ages, not age-specific programs. Do I enter my programs under family programs then?
Yes,
I think
you
the
do.
answer to that would be yes.
Yes, you do. So maybe you run 0 programs just for 6 to 11, 0 programs just for 0 to 5, but you run 30 family programs. But perhaps what I can assume you might be doing is you're tracking the amount of reading for these different age groups, which you are welcome to do. Again, that's not information that we are collecting, but it might be very pertinent and important information for your board reports, for your first selectman reports, for your PTA reports, even though we're not collecting that. So please continue to track aged reading if that is something that's important to your community. Ultimately, what we're trying to work around here, folks, is there are 191 public libraries, and there are 191 different summer reading programs, but I am one little person trying to compile and organize and tell a story with all of this information. So this is the way, modeled off of another state, so this isn't just kind of like coming out of nowhere. This has been modeled and run for many a years in another state and has had really great results. So that's ultimately what we're trying to do. But if there is separate information that you have been collecting that is not present here, that's very important for your community, continue to collect it. And I made sure that it was translated exactly like that at the bottom.
Kim, I'm going to jump in with more questions coming in. These might be more from Maria, we'll see. So because we're in the midst of a building project and have no programming rooms and the building is not open to the public, we're holding some of our programs in a room rented for us by the Friends. Is this considered an off-site program?
Yes, that is off-site. So anything on library premises, whether it's in your building or in your parking lot, your lawn, your roof, your back deck, that's on-site. But if you are off library premises, then you are off-site. And that's going to make your stats look fabulous this year. So you might just want to put something in a comment field on the form or on your annual report and just say, hey, FYI, you know, our entire building was closed this year, so we ran every single program off-site, which we probably won't do in the future. But that helps us, and then it gives you a paper trail too, so that when you're looking at your stats in 5 years, you say, what the heck were we doing that year? You've got that information ready.
Perfect. Thank you, Maria. This next question, we do not run a summer reading program for adults, but we do have programs for adults. Do you want those program stats?
Nope. If it's not a summer reading program, then if it's just a program like you would run a program in December, then no, feel free to leave that section blank.
And this is also where the program and activity spreadsheet comes in handy. There's a column specifically in there where you can note whether it's a summer reading program. So if it's related to Tales and Tales, you want me to share that, Kim?
Yes, I think now would be a good time to just sort of give a quick view of that.
Yeah, program activity. So this is what it looks like when you download it. This column C for summer reading, it's abbreviated summer reading, which hopefully is clearer to everybody than SRP was. So here you really want to be clear, is this related to your Tales and Tales summer reading programs and activities? Or maybe it's something that happens year round, like a Dungeons and Dragons club. D&D happens regardless, right? It maybe coincidentally happens in the summer, but it's not specifically related to summer reading. So you'd say no there. And then because you've chosen that, then it will calculate correctly when we get to the state report totals. And I don't have a clever one with all of my data filled in, but it will come up automatically right in here. So these numbers are what you're going to use in Kim's report for this year.
And I have linked a video that I sat and watched and was like really impressed by. This whole form is magic. Maria has done a video where this information is pre-populated so that you can see exactly what it is that we're talking about, particularly if you are using that already, to then make it easier for you to submit your portion of the report to your director, who then puts everything together to then send to Maria.
Yeah. And so we tried to, Kim and I tried to match all of the questions here so that they're similar in this form and similar on Kim's summer reading report form. So that question about total number of summer reading programs and activities, and then which of them were off-site. So those numbers are here, and then your total attendance numbers.
So really, if you're using this, I mean, the ease at which, in theory, you're able to fill out a report to send to me should really almost be amazing. If, as you are doing your programs, you are filling out each line as it's laid out in this sheet that Maria has created, then when it's time for you to copy and paste that information over to me, that's exactly what it is, copying and pasting. The same way with the patron surveys. If you are filling out those patron survey results into the form as it is created for you, then the numbers already exist when your program's over.
Great. I have one more question, and I'm sorry for the lawn mowing that you might hear in the background. So we have a summer reading program for children ages 0 to 13. Where would this be counted?
Pick one. Pick one is the only answer that I can give you. And the thing is, we know, and I'm almost glad all of these questions are coming in, because you here in the room and people who watch us later, I hope this gives you an idea of exactly what this process may have looked like on a state level before we came up with a process like this. It was just 0 to 13, 8 to 18, not this, that, family, but I hope you all understand. This is sort of another way to say, like, we are not trying to make things complicated. It's really a simplification of a greater process, because everything is so different. So you can put it wherever you want, whatever feels best that day. Split them up. It's completely up to you. And the thing is, we'll never know. I'll never know. I don't even know who asked that question. But these are things.
You can also make a note for yourself when you're doing your data, right? Like you can leave notes for yourself, for your future self, or for the person who has your job after you. And you can say, here's how we entered this. Even though the program was ages 0 to 13, here's how we responded. And that helps you next year and helps your data remain consistent from year to year.
Just sort of another addition to that. Like I said, for those of you who've been doing this long enough, you know that once upon a time, this information was collected via SurveyMonkey. And the thing about SurveyMonkey is once you hit submit, it flies off into the ether and you never see it again. So one of the benefits of filling this information out as detailed and thoroughly as possible is because of what Maria just said. 5 years down the road, especially if you're filling out that big notes field at the bottom, 5 years down the road, you know exactly what was going on. You know, man, why did we have like 45 off-site programs? What was even going on there? You know at the bottom, oh, that's right. That was the year that we were in the middle of our building project. If it's like, how come we only had programs for, ages 0 to 5? Why didn't we do anything for older children? In that notes field in the bottom, oh, it's because like we just ran our program for ages 0 to 13, and that's where we chose to put all of the information that day. This isn't just helpful for me, it's helpful for you, and it's helpful for whoever comes in and replaces you, because that's the first thing that they're gonna wanna know. Many of you, when I was looking through, are children and teen librarians, and you know that summer reading is just the thing. It is just the bee's knees right up there with the Halloween party and the holiday party. Like, it is just right there. So the more information that you have to make informed decisions later, or the people who come after you to make informed decisions later, the better off everybody's gonna be, really. Yeah, there are her recordings, which I've also linked on my page, but you're welcome to go and get them there. Like I said, there's sort of the I just need the bare minimum, which is that first video there, and you'll see the time slot breakdown to let you know exactly where you need to go for whatever information you're looking for. But then there's also the pro tips for people who maybe are really comfortable with Excel, and they kind of want to play around and know what other kind of funky, awesome, and cool things you can do with that spreadsheet. And again, like, summer reading, to the best of its ability is built into Maria's work. We worked really hard for that, and just hope it's beneficial, and we'll probably be tapping you all. I know I will at the end of summer to say, hey, what worked, what didn't work, what was missing, that we can create on a magnanimous scale, obviously. If there's something sort of unique that's happening just where you are, you know, we might be able to talk to you about some ways to make this work best for you. But things like, hey, I really think family programming should be in here, didn't cross my mind until someone said it.
And kind of backtracking, I do want to point out where this says reporting year, I tried to build into the formulas the flexibility of year, because most of your summer reading programs and activities span a summer, which is 2 reporting years and most likely 2 fiscal years. So if you're submitting a report for summer reading in 2021, you're just going to go ahead and use this. You don't have to think about, oh, was that fiscal year 21 or was that fiscal year 22? You're just going to use it based on the reporting year. And then likewise, if you're responsible for your annual report and you're putting that in for 2021, you would use these numbers. So that's why the terminology is a little bit different in this program and activity tracking spreadsheet compared to fiscal year or other years. So reporting year hopefully clarified that.
Great. Another question just popped in, and this might be more for you, Maria. So if we are offering virtual story times that we've been running year round, can we count those? We've also been to farmers markets, so can those be counted as well?
So you would definitely count them as programs. And I have many recorded webinars on what's a program, what's an activity, and how to put them in here. But then it's up to you whether that's specifically a summer reading program. So if you went to the farmer's market and you did something based on Tales and Tales, that might be a summer reading specific event. And if you went to the somewhere else, the nature center in December, that's probably not summer reading. Up to you.
Mm-hmm. A lot of this information is going to be, we don't know, right? Like we can't always give you a yes or no. It's not my program. I didn't build it. I don't know what the intent is behind it or what the ideal impact is for said program. So if you are deciding that it is a part of the summer reading program that you are creating, go ahead and write it down. If it's the same in July as it would be in, you know, December, then maybe it's just a program that would have happened one way or the other. That's a decision for you to make. And again, I'm not going to know. I know what you tell me. So if you say that it's a part of your summer reading program, then it's a part of your summer reading program.
I'm just randomly filling.
And this is sort of how
stuff in so people can see how it works.
So see, again, we tried to put drop downs in wherever it was appropriate to make it sort of easier to use.
What else would we have? Music. Entering good data in your spreadsheets. So I think both my spreadsheet and Kim's rely on good data. So if you have put something in here wrong, the formulas are going to. So here, now that I've entered things in, you can see how they show up in reporting year.
Awesome.
So these were specifically over the summer for summer reading. They show up here. These, just because of the date, fell into fiscal year 2022 for reporting for your annual report. Hopefully that didn't just confuse everybody.
No, I think it was helpful. And I actually see a question that just came in, and I'm kind of just going to toss out this. If your library owns it, it is on-site. If your library does not own it, it is off-site. I think is just the best way. So if you're who owns the town pavilion, I think is sort of the best way to handle that. Okay, so Marie, would you mind giving me sharing back? I've got a couple other things that might be helpful, but Marie is freezing for me a little bit, but with a pleasant smile.
Yeah, town pavilion.
Okay, there you go. All right, so we're just going to take a quick gander at a few other things. What we've done in supplemental materials as well, at our last workshop, someone said that it would be really helpful if they had some talking points about the why behind the patron survey. Just if someone asked, hey, why are we doing this? So Ashley was able to whip some of those up quickly for us. So you're welcome to print those and take a look at them and maybe put them behind your circulation desk, just in case someone asks, hey, why are we doing this? It's a great question. Well, I've also gone through and made a couple of samples for how you can collect patron data, or the patron survey data. You can create a QR code and you can put it in the newsletter that you send out every month. You can shrink it to size, a half size, and put it in the Take and Makes bags that maybe go out. You can, put it in a Google and put it on your website and sort of explain what it is and have people fill it out as they do that. I ran into something called talkback boards that were just adorable, that have stickers that people can kind of use to denote their answer as opposed to filling out a survey. So there's just a couple of examples here. Do what works best for you. It doesn't really matter what that way is. These are just a couple of examples. We also recently have come up with a sample summer reading timeline, approximate summer planning timeline. I mean, this is a calendar year just because that's how my brain works. But, you'll see here in June and August, this is probably when you're running your summer reading programs. June is probably when your schools are going to give you that list, even though you start asking for it in April. We just know it's coming in June. September might be when you're compiling your summer reading data. The October deadline, first Friday in the month this year, it's going to be October 1st. We've just put something together to give folks an idea of what's going on. Sometimes people start asking me about the manual code in like November, but it's not coming out until January. This is just another way to kind of put everybody on the same time frame. Really helpful for those new folks. We've had quite a few people who moved to different jobs either during COVID, or they're just new to libraries altogether. These are some tools that we put together, again, just to set you up for success. Again, I already showed you Maria's program counting. You'll see those videos are linked right from here. So if you don't want to go into the data, section, you don't have to. There is a patron survey info button that just tells you a little bit about the what, why, suggestions as to how you can collect that information, and a new section called using results. So we're asking for this info, but these are ways that you can take the data and information that you collect to tell the story of your library, to demonstrate the value of your work, improve library services, come up with types of training that you might need to work on during the non-summer years. These are just things for you to read through and kind of look at in your own time. And what some of you might have been looking at over here, if you've been on this page, you'll know this was not here until an hour ago. This is a sample of a summer reading fact flyer that we are going to create for you all to use at the end of this summer. So this is just this is really a sample. All this stuff is made up. But this is Summer Reading 2021, where you can put the name of your library and your logo. And then this is a way that the information can be compiled into a one-sheeter for you to share in your newsletters, for you to share with your stakeholders, just for you to toot your own horn about what you were able to accomplish in a 2 to 3 month time period. At the end of this summer, this might be exactly what we give you, or it might be something a little bit different. We just wanted to give you an idea of what you can physically do with that information after you have given it to us. Put an inspiring quote at the bottom, put a couple. I hope someone does think that you're awesome and give you $10,000 to use. In my mind, that's what someone would do for me. And then it's a little small here, actually, just because of sort of the way this is. But what we will probably be suggesting that you do with your patron survey results is, instead of just provide the numerical data, turn it into percentage data. So 77% of participants felt welcomed at the library. 90% of participants enjoyed library activities over the summer. 60% of the participants said that they would come back to the library after the summer. I think sometimes we can become so disheartened if we see a number that we don't like, that what we don't realize is that even if only 15 teenagers participate in your summer reading program, if 93 of them felt welcomed and learned something and planned to come back, that's really the story that we need to be telling. That tells more about our impact on our community than the number 12. What really matters is how we've affected those 12 people, and not just that there were only 12, for lack of a better term. So now I'm going to kind of turn back. Oh, another like really random fun thing. There is a frequently asked questions section, which did not exist when we did this last time. As I get questions in my email and in things like that, we are just taking them and we're just dropping them here. So when you have a question, feel free to email me, but like just know that I might just send you the link to this back if the answer is already here. So maybe start here, for example, a screenshot of that message, and even kind of answering the question of, my program is for all ages, but I've got targeted individual programs. Like even some of that, what seems like something that's like new, we've actually already had that question. So why are certain age breakdowns the way they are? So I suggest folks take a look at the frequently asked questions page. It is constantly growing and adjusting as we get new questions that aren't already here. And something that we're playing around with is visual data. I know I'm a very visual person and some people are too. So our goal, this is just a sample, our goal one day is to have all of this be dark blue, all of the towns that have libraries, because there's 4 that don't, submit their summer reading data to us, and that's how we're able to then compile a statewide story to share with you all. But it's just like a fun little visual. There are, of course, things here under resources. I'm going to leave this to you to go through. I don't need to read it to you. We can all read. But yeah, final questions, Ashley?
Yeah, there's one more question, and I know Maria was in and out. Is she back? Are you
I don't. Oh yes, I see. Did I see your? Yes, I see her name. She's
okay,
here.
Great. So Maria, I think this one's for you. Are you looking for information about teen volunteers? Does using teen volunteers count as a program?
Oh, and Maria's already teen volunteers. Oh, good. There you go, Maria.
Yep. Sorry,
she already answered it.
Yep. If you can hear me. Yes. I mean, what you call a program is not what IMLS calls a program. So you need to always refer to the IMLS definition of a program. So you might have teen volunteers in your space. You might be counting their hours and their fabulous work. That's a wonderful thing, and you can include them in your state annual report to me, but they do not, for the purposes of IMLS, count as a program. What would count is if you specifically have a teen advisory board and they are meeting on a monthly basis, that could count as a program, right? A teen advisory board.
Oh, we froze a little bit again, but I hope that makes sense to the person who asked that question. Those definitions are very important. That is why I linked to them from my page.
But just the simple fact that you have volunteers is not a program.
Thank you, Maria. So I hope that's answered the questions. I can even hang out here after this is over if someone's got an individual question they want to ask. I don't really have anything else going on, but I've said this a couple times already, and I'm going to say it again. We want to set you up for success. We don't want anyone floundering, stressing, or angst-ridden at the end of September when they're putting this information together, or when they're putting Maria's information together for the annual report. We want this to be as close to smooth sailing as possible. So please, you know, reach out, ask the questions, read the FAQs though, because someone might have already asked it. Thank you for coming. There it is. It's my hour. I'm sure everyone's got a million things to do. Y'all are right in the middle of summer reading. I'm in summer reading in a different capacity. So thank you. If you wanted to say something separately, like, you know, you're welcome to kind of hang out here. But thank you for coming. I hope you all have a great rest of your summer. Is the humidity still 90 some odd %? That's rude. I don't like this coast at all. So let me, you know, reach out if you have any questions.